Hello and welcome to Football Daily, where today we're looking at 10 times teams paid well over the odds. 10. Marouane Fellaini. Paying more than €30 million for a man with Fellaini's talents is bad enough, but when the player had a buyout clause of €25 million, which expired shortly before David Moyes finally approved the transfer in 2013, it somehow looks even worse. And Man United didn't get a huge amount for their money, just a collection of flailing elbows and the hair of a homeless clown, as they tumbled from champions down to 7th place in 13-14, with Fellaini starting only 15 league games. The former Everton man has now topped 80 appearances for the Red Devils, featuring all over the midfield and forward line, and scoring 11 goals for the club. Hardly impressive for a guy who cost the same as the toffees paid for Romelu Lukaku. 9. Denilson. No, not that one. This is not the former Arsenal midfielder, but Denilson de Oliveira, a Brazilian winger from Sao Paulo who was expected to follow Ronaldo and Rivaldo to the summit of the global game. As a highly rated young player, Denilson did the obvious thing and moved to La Liga, except he didn't join Barca, Real or even Valencia, but Real Betis for €31 million, which in 1999 was the highest transfer fee ever paid. More than 200 appearances and just 13 league goals later, Denilson was mostly featuring off the bench and had torched all the club's goodwill, along with a mountain of cash. Though he won the World Cup with Brazil in 2002, he ended up playing in the USA, Vietnam and Greece before retiring in 2010. 8. Shaun Wright-Phillips. As anyone who remembers Ali Dia can tell you, sometimes being related to a decent footballer is enough. But Shaun Wright-Phillips, the son of Ian Wright, was expected to become a star in his own right, no pun intended, back in 2005, when Chelsea paid Man City €33.5 million for his services. His pace and dribbling ability were highly rated, but next to Arjen Robben, Eidur Gudjohnsen and Joe Cole, the English wide man failed to shine, scoring just 10 goals in more than 120 games for the Blues. And even a return to Man City couldn't stop the rot, as Wright-Phillips never established himself under Roberto Mancini and ended up at QPR, where he was relegated twice in 4 years. 7. Emmanuel Adebayor. Togolese forward Emmanuel Adebayor joined Arsenal for a pittance in 2006, and thanks to the creative ability of Cesc Fabregas, he managed to score more than 60 goals for the Gunners, including 24 in one league campaign. Man City were oil money and paid the Londoners nearly €30 million for the striker, pairing him with Carlos Tevez up front. And though he scored 14 in his first year with the Citizens, the arrivals of Edin Dzeko and Mario Balotelli saw him sent out on loan, strangely enough, to Real Madrid. In the end, Adebayor left City after 2 years and 15 league goals, making each strike cost around €2 million. Tottenham coughed up €6 million to bring him back to London, but these days he's a free agent. 6. Robinho. Robinho went straight from Brazil to the Bernabeu at the tender age of 21, and he performed reasonably well in Spain. During 3 years with Los Blancos, he scored more goals than anyone except Raul and Van Nistelrooy, and chipped in with more assists than everyone bar Guti. However, when Madrid tried to use him as a make-weight in a move for Cristiano Ronaldo, Robinho tried to leave for Chelsea, but Man City outbid the Londoners at the last minute. It happened so quickly that at his presentation as a City player, Robinho himself said how glad he was to be at Chelsea, and had to be corrected by a reporter. He left after 2 years having scored 16 goals, and in 2016 he was offered to Swansea City. 5. Radamel Falcao. Once among the world's most feared strikers, Radamel Falcao joined Atletico Madrid for a club record €40 million in 2011, making him the club's most expensive purchase of all time. And under Diego Simeone, El Tigre won the Europa League for a second time and scored 70 goals in 91 games. Monaco, newly promoted and flush with Russian money, paid a reported $60 million to sign the Colombian in 2013, but fitness problems limited him to just 19 appearances, scoring a healthy 11 goals before an ACL injury saw him sidelined for 8 months. Man United and Chelsea both foolishly loaned the player, forking out more than £250,000 a week for his services, but he never fully recovered and returned to Monaco in 2016. 4. Fernando Torres. A two-footed lightning-quick forward in his prime, Torres was a huge success at Liverpool, though he couldn't help the club to any silverware during his time on Merseyside. Chelsea, keen for a marquee signing, spent €58 million on the Spaniard in January of 2011, but Nando never adjusted to life at Stamford Bridge. However, he did win the Champions League with the Blues and kept his place in the Spain squad, winning a second European Championship. An ill-advised move to AC Milan didn't work out, and Torres eventually rejoined his first club, Atletico Madrid. Remarkably, Simeone squeezed every last drop of talent out of the veteran, reaching a Champions League final with El Niño partnering Antoine Griezmann in attack. 3. Andy Carroll. Chelsea may have pissed their money away with Torres, but Liverpool didn't fare much better, recruiting Newcastle's Andy Carroll for €41 million on the strength of 30 goals in a season and a half. The homegrown premium was in full effect, as Carroll became the 8th most expensive footballer of all time, and the warning signs began immediately, as an injury prevented Carroll from making his debut for 2 months. After a year and a half, Liverpool called it quits, allowing the floppy-haired flop to go on loan to West Ham. He had played only 58 times for the Reds and managed 11 goals. Luckily, Liverpool had spent the rest of the Torres money on a young Uruguayan called Luis Suarez. 2. David Luiz. One of the most hilarious signings in history, we can't imagine what happened at Chelsea when PSG called them up in 2014, offering more than €60 million for their patchy centre-back David Luiz. And the laughs kept coming, as a month later the Brazilian played a starring role in the Seleção's 7-1 loss to Germany in the World Cup semi-final. Luiz inexplicably made PSG's first team over the talented Marquinhos, and fans of the player can point to his 2 successive league and cup doubles in France. But given that PSG topped the table in 2016 by 31 points, it's hard to claim that Luiz gave them the edge. Now 29, Luiz will retire as a league and Champions League winner, but the real champion in his story is Chelsea's accountant. 1. Hulk. Not one club, but 2 got fleeced by Brazilian powerhouse Hulk, with more than €130 million spent on the attacker in the course of his career. After making his name at Porto with a genuinely exceptional 89 goals in 170 games, Zenit St. Petersburg paid €60 million to take him to Russia, also forking out a princely €40 million for Benfica's Axel Witsel. But despite this huge outlay, the club won the Russian Premier League just once in 4 seasons with Hulk, and failed to make any headway in Europe. But an even crazier move was to come, as Chinese side Shanghai SIPG paid €55.8 million for the now 30-year-old in 2016, handing him a €20 million a year contract. And they got exactly 20 minutes for their money before seeing the big man stretch it off on his debut.
So those were the top 10 most inflated transfer fees, but who did we miss out? Who would you have included? Let us know in the comments below. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out Monday's winners and losers video, where we take a look at the best of the action from the weekend. And as ever guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.